and we often hear about bamboo diplomacy. What does this actually mean, and how do they make it happen? Because it looks to me very difficult finding that balance between, on the one hand, your big Chinese brother, and on the other hand, your biggest trade partner being the US.
Yeah. They're masters in hugging everybody and keeping everybody at a relative distance as well. So everybody also wants to know Vietnam better. They want to engage with Vietnam because Vietnam is offering opportunities for business, for growth, for political contacts, as I was saying. At the same time, Vietnam is very, very cleverly keeping a distance and not committing to one party or the other. It is a deliberate choice.
Hi all, and welcome to Inside Out, Deep Sea's podcast that explores the people, the partnerships, and the ideas that shapes Vietnam's industrial ecosystem. And instead of focusing on news facts, data, and spreadsheets, we are going to talk with people who have brought and delivered the trust among our investors. Now, in this first episode, I am more than pleased and honored to welcome a very special guest, Mr. Karl van den Bossche, Belgian Ambassador to Vietnam, and a person who has a special place in the hearts of all the Belgians in this country.
Thank you very much, Koen, and it's a pleasure indeed.
Let me start, before we dive into your career as an ambassador in Vietnam, let's dive into something more personal. When was the time in Vietnam that you thought, well, I will fall in love with this country? Was there any specific moment over the last 4 years?
Wow, there have been quite a few moments, but if I can try to identify one or two moments, it's when we were able to identify opportunities to combat Agent Orange. Because then I could start to develop a connection with the country and with the people, and I could make a bridge between the past, the present, and I could start developing a dream about the future together with the Vietnamese. That has given me an incredible energy.
The purpose of the podcast is also to explore the person behind the name, behind the title. So let me walk you quickly through your personal journey.
And you are going to do that?
Yeah, no, I'm going to invite you to walk hand in hand.
Okay,
right?
Thank you.
Can you just briefly talk about your career up till now? Just a short overview of your career.
I always felt a special thing for international relations, and I'm an economist. So I try to combine both. I started as a very junior laureate of the Prize of the Minister of Foreign Trade, then continued to organize an economic mission with Prince Philip in 1996, participated in the diplomatic exam, turned out second out of 800 candidates, and I thought I would see the world, and they sent me to The Hague, which is very close to Belgium, but okay, it's also a diplomatic.
It's across the border.
It's across the border. So that was all my first foreign official foreign experience. After the traineeship in The Hague, I've been posted to Geneva, to New York. I was diplomatic advisor of a deputy prime minister, dealing with, in the first time, dealing with asylum and migration. In the second time, with another deputy prime minister, dealing with budgets, which is always a headache in Belgium. After that, I was consul general in Mumbai, came back to Brussels, worked in the European Parliament for a year, became the direct assistant to our Secretary General, moved to the Netherlands for 4 years. After that, became ambassador here in Vietnam. That's in a nutshell.
So if we move away from the protocol, the flags, the high excellencies, what is the main impact that you want to leave behind as an ambassador for this planet?
Okay, your question sounds a little bit like the Miss World elections.
Mr. World, in your case.
Yeah, to save the world, to make the world peaceful, world peace. But all jokes apart, our influence is only that much. We can connect people. We can motivate people to take decisions, to think about issues, to put issues higher on an agenda. And I believe I have been able to do that here in Vietnam with, for example, the whole issue around Agent Orange. I've been able also to make a difference for our Belgians by seeing that Vietnam has dropped the visa obligations. So my fellow Belgians can now travel freely to Vietnam without asking for a visa. Yeah, those things are making a difference. And I don't need to have my name on an achievement. But if things can run smoother after I have left, I'm very happy.
For our young and ambitious viewers who want to pursue a career in the international diplomatic community, what kind of advice would you give to them? Things that they should pick up, which you cannot find in any textbook.
I see. Listen to the other. Be humble and try to understand what the other person really wants to say. Too often we talk a lot, and in diplomacy there's a lot of talking, but you need to listen very carefully, because people can say something, but then they mean something else. And you have to look at them, to understand them, to know where they are coming from. You don't find that in the textbook.
I'm very happy that you mentioned this, because that is basically also my main advice that I give to my people in my sales departments. Salespeople, and it's a cliche, are supposed to be the big talkers. But I'm convinced that for us as Deep Sea, we can only be successful when we first listen to the clients, when we first understand what actually the pain points are that they are facing. And it's first by listening that you can take the necessary action, and that you can, in our case, gain the trust from our clients. So there is definitely some similarity over there. You have seen Vietnam changing 4 years from now, and I believe that it is very obvious that Vietnam in general, but definitely also Hanoi and Haiphong, they look different. If Vietnam would be a person, right, how would you describe Vietnam? Imagine the country being a person.
Agile, pragmatic, ambitious.
Male or female?
Hello, in this time of gender neutrality, it can be both.
Good answer.
Self-confident, very much actually, and growing in confidence. And I could sense that, and I appreciate that. I admire that. There's a degree of confidence in the way that Vietnam, the person then, will grow and will achieve targets in life, or at least important milestones in life.
You arrived in Vietnam back in 2022, so it's now 4 years. What is the biggest shift that you have observed in those 4 years?
Vietnam has become even more industrialized. It's on an accelerated pace of growth. But at the same time, I have seen Vietnam growing also internationally. The country has very, very cleverly positioned itself on the international scene. Maybe not necessarily at this stage as a deal maker, but at least as a country that is acceptable to very many countries. And in that way, it has grown more important on the international scene. It's a very deliberate strategy of the Vietnamese government, and you see that it is bearing fruit. People start to understand that Vietnam matters. And I have seen that, I knew that already, I could sense that because I was living here. But now people also in Europe start to understand that you need to look to Vietnam to better understand and maybe also better access Southeast Asia.
Take us behind the scenes of political power in Vietnam. And we often hear about bamboo diplomacy. What does this actually mean, and how do they make it happen? Because it looks to me very difficult finding that balance between, on the one hand, your big Chinese brother, and on the other hand, your biggest trade partner being the US.
Yeah. They are masters in hugging everybody and keeping everybody at a relative distance as well. So everybody also wants to know Vietnam better. They want to engage with Vietnam because Vietnam is offering opportunities for business, for growth, for political contexts, as I was saying. But at the same time, Vietnam is very, very cleverly keeping a distance and not committing to one party or the other. It is a deliberate choice. If I make the comparison with Belgium, we made a totally different choice. We integrated into the European Union. We gave up power. We cooperate. We have a European Commission that is even governing laws that we agree to. Vietnam has taken a different way. But the bamboo diplomacy is an instrument for them to survive. You can ask the question, however, how much more they can continue with bamboo diplomacy in a world that is polarizing more and more and where blocks are shifting away from each other and where big powers are pushing other countries to take sides. It's an open question.
It's an open question, but I am sure you have some ideas about that. Where do you see Vietnam both politically and economically, let's say 10, 15 years from now, in this fast evolving world?
Firstly, the Vietnamese government has a clear idea about that. By 2045, they want to be a high income country, and they're getting there. Just recently, the World Bank has published a report in which they say that Vietnam is now at higher middle income status. So they are moving very fast. The growth of the GDP is enormous. The development of the country is going at a neck-breaking pace. The regular Vietnamese citizens are getting a better life. Their children are getting better perspectives for the future. So yes, I do believe that they will get there in 2045. However, there are challenges as well. Air pollution, environmental pollution, an aging population. You wouldn't say that when you walk around in the streets of Vietnam because you see so many young people. But within 10 years, Vietnam will start aging. And then you will have an issue with your productivity of your country. So Vietnam has a challenge also to automate much further, to go higher on the level of the value chain.
The current Prime Minister of Belgium, I remember when he was still the mayor of Antwerp, he once said at a conference in Singapore that not that long ago, Europeans, they came to Asia to teach the Asians how to do business, how to live, how to work. Now, Europeans come to Asia to learn instead of teaching. What would be, in your opinion, one of the lessons the Belgian government, or by extension the European government, could learn from their colleagues in Vietnam?
I think our Prime Minister is absolutely right. I think we need to learn even more from Vietnam and from Asia in general. What can we learn? Well, we have lost stamina in Europe. We have lost a sense of priorities. Everything is a priority in Europe, and nothing, we don't want to lose anything. It's a sense of conservatism that hampers us in taking decisions that we need to take in order to ensure our future. That is something that I see here is taken deliberately. Choices are made. They might not always be beneficiary to all parts of society, but the choices are clear and are being made with a view to achieve a target. That kind of stamina, of determination, of clarity, I think we need that back in Europe in such a way that most of the people still feel that they are represented.
From my experience, Vietnam is not very often in Belgian news, except when we have the visit of a typhoon. Let's say if you would be invited to talk or present about Vietnam in front of some students, for instance, at university, what would be your key takeaways? What would be the core message that you want to bring to those people about Vietnam?
Forget the image of the rice field and the buffalo. Vietnam is really rapidly developing, and if this continues like this, and there is no doubt about that, that it will continue like this, they will take over a lot of innovations and productions and processes. We should learn from them, but we should not forget that beyond the European Union, there are others with whom we should work together to continue to grow and to continue to innovate so that we also ourselves become more self-sufficient, more reliable, more autonomous in that world where we are being pushed to take sides, and we do not want to take sides. So we are looking for partners that are similarly standing in life. Vietnam is one of them.
Now, Deep Sea, our companies, had the chance to work with you very closely over the last 4 years. And as you know, in those 4 years, we have obviously attracted quite a lot of foreign investors coming into Vietnam. When you go back to Belgium, when you go back to Brussels and you have the opportunity to talk in front of, let's say, European investors looking to Vietnam as a possible investment location, what would be some of your key messages or maybe even some key advices that you would give to those decision makers?
Those Europeans will feel perfectly at ease with Deep Sea, especially around October when you are organizing the Beef Fest. That's something that is something from home, something from us.
Something recognizable.
Something that is us, the Belgians. But besides that, it's of course very important. The Belgian beers are always important. But you have a way of doing business that is recognizable, transparent, predictable. I think that is what a company is looking for. You're a one-stop shop. You offer a package to companies, and they don't have to take care anymore of other licensing or contacts or whatever that might delay their investments.
Imagine that one day, or maybe today, why not? I meet your neighbor, and your neighbor, he doesn't know that you're the ambassador. How would that person describe Karl as a private person, you think? Or you hope?
Wow, that is a difficult question.
Save the best for last.
It's. I think he or she would say that I am cracking jokes, that I like talking with the neighbors, that I want to engage on a more personal level, if indeed there is a match. But I will also respect people when they prefer to have their privacy.
Is it fair to describe you as a kind of a atypical ambassador? What I mean is, most probably people have an image of who or what an ambassador is, how he or she behaves. Honestly, over the 4 years that I had the opportunity to talk and work with you, you are a bit different, in a better way, less formal. You agree?
Yes, entirely, and I think my colleagues in the Department of Foreign Affairs in Brussels would agree as well. Sometimes I think by myself, Karl, why don't you shut up your big mouth?
But then you're no longer yourself.
But then I'm no longer myself.
Yes.
So I consider myself being, as they say in French, un diplomate tout-terrain, a four-wheel drive diplomat. It means I am not shy of making my hands dirty. I will run the extra mile if it's needed for the interests of Belgium or my Belgians or my Belgian companies. I'm having fun in my job. The day I don't have fun in my job anymore, I quit.
I think that's very important, having fun. This is also fun. We are going to the end of our conversation. Some more questions that come into my mind. I know that your container is somewhere waiting to be shipped back to Belgium. What comes after Vietnam? I understand you're leaving by the end of July. What comes next? What is your next challenge?
Okay, you talk about a container, so that's a subtle hint to a small commercial for deep sea, because my container is standing in the port of Hatiko in La Guyenne. I move back to Belgium and I become the special envoy for Ukraine. It means that I will start connecting the dots, or continue to connect the dots, between NATO, European Union, the Belgian defense industry, our businesses, our development cooperation.
And I can see and hear that you're looking forward to that.
Very much.
Okay. A few more questions. If you could bring one habit from Belgium to Vietnam, what would it be? And also vice versa. What habit from Vietnam will you bring back to Belgium?
There are quite a few habits that I have come to appreciate over the years, but I would not do it myself. Like people playing badminton at 5 o'clock in the morning in the streets to avoid the heat. Vietnamese do tend to get up early.
Yeah, indeed.
I find that an absolute positive thing.
Early mornings.
Early mornings, yes. A habit also of let things go a little bit more. Don't freak out on everything, because if you do that, you go nuts. So again, it's a matter of setting your priorities, knowing what is important, knowing that some things do take more time.
And accept.
And accept.
This is the camera, Karl.
Yeah.
You can say some final words to 100 million Vietnamese viewers. What would be your last message to the Vietnamese people?
Keep cool and carry on. You're a fantastic country, fantastic people. I love your country. I love you people. You're amazing, and we can learn a lot. And I have learned a lot. And I thank you for that.
I think these are probably the best words to end this first episode of Inside Out. And again, it has been a true pleasure and honor to have, and I will say it for the last time, His Excellency, Mr. Karl van den Bossche, Belgian Ambassador to Vietnam, in our studio. Thank you, Karl.
Thank you, Koen.
Bye. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. We salute you. I have a few rapid questions. I just throw two words and just pick one that comes immediately. Brussels or Hanoi?
Hanoi, definitely now, yeah.
Moule frites or pho?
Yeah. Maybe the pho as an entree, and then I will have the moule frite as a main course.
It's a diplomatic answer. Belgian beer or Vietnamese coffee?
Yeah, well, okay, Belgian beers.
All right, good. Bicycle or motorbike?
Bicycle.
Early mornings or late evenings?
Goh, with a good Belgian beer, late evenings.